for a really heartbreaking tale of love and grief. And it is just really a devastating book. But this is harrowing and beautiful. Hello and welcome to Lily's Library. So this is part 2 of my 2025 must-read books. So these are books that I think you must read this year. So part 1 was general literary fiction kind of vibes and horror. This part is going to be fantasy and sci-fi. So without further ado, let's just get straight on into it. Okay, our second last genre now is sci-fi. So again, in no particular order, the first book I will be talking about is The Fifth Season by N.K. Jemisin. The Broken Earth trilogy is one of the best sci-fi fantasy trilogies I have ever read. It has got such a unique use of multi-POV. It's got such a unique world and world building system and magic. It is just so heartbreaking and incredible at the same time. So the fifth season is set in a world where every century or few hundred years they have what is called the fifth season. It's when the world seemingly ends, some people survive and are able to make it through the next period of time before everything can be rebuilt, but a lot of people do not make it through. So the fifth season could be something where there's a earth-shattering earthquake, there's a volcanic eruption. One was where there was like a whole bunch of ash that clouded everything, so there was no sunlight, and that was how a lot of people died. But it's very harrowing, the stuff that does happen. And in this book, we're following 3 different women throughout a 5th season and the different stages of that season itself. In this world, we've also got origins. These are people that can kind of control the earth in a way. Think earthbenders, but on a different sense. So if there is an earthquake, they can kind of quell it and cess it, which means they can sense it and calm it down and stuff. They can either make it earth-shattering and create that 5th season themselves, or they can stop it. These people are very much exploited. There is colleges or areas called like the fulcrum, which is where they are taken as children and they are trained to be used by the government. They are controlled by these beings called guardians who can keep them in check and keep them from using their powers for wrong. One of our main focuses is the oppression of these people, how they can be make or break. They can save lives or they can completely kill people, so no one seems to trust them. Our main character, she is one of these origins, and it starts out with her discovering her son's dead body in their house. She realizes her husband has discovered that she and her children are all origins, and he took out his anger on their son, but her daughter is also missing. So it starts off on her journey trying to find out where her daughter went, and throughout the 3 books we're kind of following that journey and all the subsequent things that happen. There's no other way to describe this but earth-shattering. It is so insane. Like I said, it's got a really unique use of multi-POV, and the way that everything kind of comes together in the end of book 1 is just beautiful. I don't think I've ever sobbed so hard as I did while reading these books. Now, the next sci-fi on this list is The Principle of Moments by Esme Jacami Pearson. If you're a fan of Doctor Who, I think you'll really like this. This has got really incredible use of prophecy, and the way that it is fulfilled and the way everything plays out is just so well crafted. So this is a dual POV book. One of our characters, he is able to time travel, and he is actually currently dating one of the princes of England. He is to be the future king, and it follows him in this time, and he kind of jumps around time. He's been abandoned by his father in this time, and he doesn't know where his dad's gone. So it looks a lot about him trying to navigate that and find his place in the world, trying to figure out what he can and can't do, because he kind of feels that he doesn't fit in anywhere, because he is lost to time. Our other character, she lives in a very more futuristic world. She's on another planet. It's just her and her mother, and they're very much just like forced into these working conditions, and she's been wanting to escape for ages. One day she finds out that she actually has a sister, and that sister might be alive and is somewhere else, and she's kind of like thrown into this world trying to figure out what happens. Her and this guy's lives collide. They find out they're a part of this prophecy that could make or break the world, and it's just so unique and so well done and harrowing at times as well, and it is so good. It is book 1 in a series. Book 2 is due to come out next year. So if you are looking on a new series to start, then I recommend picking this one up before the end of the year. The next one is, again, one of my all-time favorite ones. I have a tattoo for this as well, and that is the Locked Tomb series by Tamsin Muir, starting with Gideon the Ninth. These are, again, very confusing books. You kind of need to be fine and okay and accept that you're going to be confused and you're not going to understand anything, but they are incredible. Very like Tumblr humor as well. I don't know. It's just so weird. So in book 1, we follow 2 different characters that are our main focus. We've got Gideon, who is stuck in the 9th house. She's kind of one of the few young people there. Her and Harrow were the only ones that survived childhood. And she's been trying to escape for a while. She doesn't want to be there. She wants to find her own life. And during one of her escapes, it gets foiled by Harrow, who is the heir to the 9th house. She is a necromancer. Gideon ends up getting roped into being Harrow's cavalier to go and compete in this competition for Harrow to get lictorship. So this is kind of a survival style competition. It's all these different heirs and necromancers from the different houses that are sent to this other planet to compete to become lictors. They have a series of challenges that they need to complete. There's locked doors they need to find out to unlock. But once they get there, something starts killing them off. So they're trying to find out if it is something that is killing them or someone that is killing them. There's not really any clarity about it because there's too many weird things that happen. Like one of the necromancers is dead upon arrival and they don't know what happened. Even the people in that pod and ship that came there aren't too sure what happened. So you don't know if it's been infiltrated from them or if it's come from somewhere else or if it's just a coincidence. It is very weird and very funny. And the thing about Gideon the Ninth is Gideon is a very unreliable narrator, but it's not in the way you would expect it to be. She is just clueless. She does not understand what is happening. Harrow is hiding information from her, so we are in the dark as well, as much as Gideon is. And you kind of don't realize that until you do get to Harrow the Ninth. But this is an absolutely breathtaking series. It is absolutely insane. I don't know how someone's brain can think of all of this, but it is just insane. And I need anyone who is a sci-fi fan to pick this up. If you haven't read it already, I need you to pick it up now. The next sci-fi is A Memory Called Empire. This is more of a political sci-fi. It kind of focuses on court politics in a way and like being ambassadors to different planets and stations and everything. So in this we follow Mahit, and the station that she's from, the Cell Station, they have this technology where they can implant different memory chips into people's heads and they can get the memories of their predecessors. It's how they kind of continue their knowledge without people having to continuously be retrained. So they've got like the pilot line where all these people have generations of knowledge on how to be a pilot. The same thing goes for the ambassadors. But something has gone wrong with Mahit and taking over from the previous ambassador. The previous ambassador, Yuskander, was actually killed while he was on this other planet and in Texkalan, and they don't have an updated memory chip for him. It is like a decade out of date because he hasn't been back. So Mahit is given this outdated chip. She has to go to Texkalan and find out what happened to her predecessor, whether it was just death from old age or he accidentally ate something that he was allergic to, or like something happened and he choked, or whether he was murdered. And we follow her trying to navigate this world that she's been studying her whole life and has had this love and appreciation for, but kind of realizes she's very much underqualified once she gets there. We also follow her envoy who is helping her, 3 Seagrass, who is from Texkalan and is helping her navigate this. There's insurrection and political infighting, and there is so much that happens. It is a very heavy book to wrap your head around just because it is so self-contained. Like, it is absolutely insane how someone thought of this all within their brain, and it is explained so well. Again, it's something you probably will take a while for you to understand and you might be a bit confused, but again, you need to embrace the confusion. It is just such a beautiful political sci-fi. There's also some very tender romance moments with 3 Seagrass and Mahit, and it is just one of the best duologies I have ever read. Now, finally, for a lighter and maybe more accessible sci-fi, we've got the Murderbot Diaries, starting with All Systems Red. These are by Martha Wells. These are insanely popular. They are some of my favorite books. I just find them very fun and quick and easy to get through. They're the perfect pick-me-up if you're kind of like feeling in that slumpy mood or kind of feeling fatigued from a super long fantasy or sci-fi. They are a good introduction to sci-fi, but they do also expect you to have some base knowledge of it, so a lot of things aren't thoroughly explained. But this is actually about to get an Apple TV show, so now is the perfect time to start reading the series. I highly recommend the audiobooks of them because the narration is just perfect. But in Murderbot Diaries, we follow Murderbot, who is a sec unit, a security unit that has hacked their own mainframe and system so that they kind of just watch TV shows and dramas. Like, they spend a lot of the time watching soaps. There's one, Sanctuary Moon, that is their favorite, that it just kind of continues to watch throughout the whole thing, it gets roped into a lot of trouble along the way. So the sec unit is eventually hired to work as a sec unit for this research team that has gone off to do these different things. And Murderbot realizes that something is trying to kill its humans. So it's trying to protect them and also keep its identity secret, make sure that they don't realize that it is a hacked system. Otherwise, it might get turned into the authorities and like turned off and reset and everything. So it's just kind of very chaotic and fun. I don't think I really should say more than that. It's just, if you're looking for a fun sci-fi, I really enjoy it just because I love the discussions around it hacking its system. They're like ethical discussions around it, and it's consciousness. It also talks a bit about gender expression as well, because Murderbot, while it does look like a man, because most of them seem to have been based off of your average white man in this world, because tech bros, you know, it kind of deals with that and how it doesn't want to be perceived that way. Like, it calls itself Murderbot in its head. It doesn't really like to be seen as a man or a woman, or it barely likes to be seen as a person, to be honest. It's just Murderbot. So I really do love those discussions, and it is just so interesting. There's a lot of politics in this as well, but it's definitely on a more accessible level than something like A Memory Called Empire. But I think this is such a fun series. If you're after something very short, Murderbot is perfect for that, because a lot of these are very short novellas. I think there's 2 full-length novels that are around 300 pages, but they are just incredible. Okay, we are on the home stretch now. We've got 10 fantasy books that I would love to talk about and recommend, so we're gonna go through them as fast as I can, because I think I've been rambling for long enough. So again, in no particular order, but starting with Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb. This is a very recent addition to my favorites list. I only read this trilogy for the first time this year. I literally have just finished the final book in this trilogy, and it is one of the best fantasy trilogies I have ever read. If you love that classic fantasy world, you will love this. So in Assassin's Apprentice, we follow Fitz. He is the bastard son of one of the princes that is next in line to take over Buckkeep and to rule over the 6 duchies, which is this land. And Fitz is kind of given over by his birth family to the keep to be raised by his father or the crown again, because they just don't want him anymore. We kind of don't really have a lot of information on Fitz's birth family. But Fitz is taken in, and the King Shrewd at the time, he decides to use Fitz as an assassin and to train him up from a young age so that no one can ever take Fitz and turn him against the crown and the kingdom. So we go through him trying to learn to be an assassin, trying to navigate being thrown into this life in the court now and in the royal family when he's still not really accepted because he is a bastard. And it is just very interesting. So we focus on him training to be an assassin. We also look at him learning to use the skill, which is a power that is said to only be part of the Farseer line, which he is now a part of. It's this power that people can use to control others. They can do sorts of things. They can like talk telepathically kind of deal. But we also find out that he's got something else called the wit, which is an ability that means he can talk and connect to animals. It's something that's very much frowned upon. So we see him navigating this life as a child, kind of being thrown into all of this, trying to deal with what to do, who to listen to, who to trust, and how he can kind of be his own person when he's kind of always someone else is controlling him and puppeting him. It is such a devastating series. I think I cried in every single book, maybe less so in book 3, but definitely in book 1 and 2. They are very heavy. Just Robin Hobb really does not pull any punches when it comes to how she treats her characters. It is devastating, but it is so breathtaking at the same time. Like, my jaw was on the floor for half of the book. It is insane what happens. The character work in these books is just some of the best I've ever read. So again, if you're looking for a very like traditional fantasy, this is perfect. Okay, then we've got Priory of the Orange Tree and A Day of Fallen Night. These are kind of interchangeable. These are by Samantha Shannon. They're the 2 current books in the Roots of Chaos series. These are incredible. They are the Dragon Doorstopper books. Again, kind of traditional fantasy vibes when we've got kind of like that medieval time with dragons and creatures and magic. But in this, we focus on different parts of this world. We've got people from the East and the West and all over, and it is very interesting. So in this, we've got quite a few different POV characters that we follow. One of them is Eid. She is the maid to the Queen, Sabrin. We follow Sabrin as well, and we look at their relationship, the dynamic that happens, the different religions that they follow as well. Because Eid, while she says she's from one area, she's actually from the Priory of the Orange Tree, which is this line of sorcerers kind of that have been trained to fight and protect the world from dragons, and worms and stuff, which actually haven't been seen in quite a while. And then, like I said, we follow Sabrin, who is the current queen. She's dealing with all of this stuff and reawakening of these dragons and the draconic plague they are bringing during her rule. We follow quite a few other characters as well. We've got ones that can actually ride dragons, because we've got some people in the East that are dragon riders, and we look at their different acceptance of dragons compared to other areas like in the West. And it's just so interesting and beautiful and really heartbreaking and tender at the same time. We've got an exploration of queer love in this, and it is just so beautiful and unique. They're very long books, but they are very worth it. Now for something that is a lot shorter and faster paced, we've got Road to Ruin by Hannah Lee. This is book 1 in a duology or series, with book 2 to come out very soon. But these are kind of like Mad Max inspired fantasies. These are again queer and just so much fun. This is actually what pulled me out of a reading slump last year, and it is just such an insane and fun book. So in this we follow Jin, who is a mage bag carrier. She is one of the people that can kind of cross this deserted area where all these cities are scattered throughout and protected, and she's one of the few people that can use her magic and ride this specific bike to travel through there kind of unscathed. So she's been doing this job for quite a while now, and she has been carrying back and forth letters between a prince and a princess from these different areas and cities and everything. And one day the princess comes to her and is like, I want to escape. I don't want to be here. My father's going to set me up in an arranged marriage. I do not want to marry this man. I need your help. And Jin kind of has to deal with whether she actually decides to help this person she's grown to care about and take her to this prince that she has also grown to care about, or whether she just kind of leaves it. And it takes a complete 180 very quick. It went in a completely different way to what I expected, and it is just so fun. I don't really want to say more than that, but if you love things with like kind of like dinosaur-like creatures like pterodactyls, if you love things like Mad Max and other fantasy, I think you would really enjoy this, and it is the perfect time to read it because book 2 comes out in June. My next recommendation is kind of a more fairy tale rec, and that is Thistlefoot by Jenna Rose Nethercott. This is kind of inspired by like Baba Yaga. So in this we follow 2 siblings who have kind of been estranged and haven't seen each other in a while. They've both taken off on completely different paths in their lives, and one day they find out that they've actually inherited a relative's walking chicken house. So it's a house that's got chicken legs and stuff, and it gets shipped over to the US. They end up meeting there and reconnecting and find out that something's actually chasing them because of this house. It looks a lot about them navigating that, navigating their family history, the arts as well, because they come from like a performing and puppeteering family, and they kind of start traveling around putting on these performances while also fleeing from this thing that is chasing them. It is really fun and beautiful. It's again got a sapphic subplot as well, which we always love. It's an added bonus. And it is just really fun. If you love more like fairy tale, whimsical things, I think you'll really enjoy this. Okay, next is by one of my all-time favorite authors, and that is Vicious by V. Schwab. Again, this was something very hard to narrow down to one book. It was very much a tie between this, the Shades of Magic trilogy and then also Addie LaRue. But I think Vicious is just, something about Vicious just is so special in my heart. Same with the other 2, but Vicious is so addictive. So this is very much like an X-Men style book. It was actually inspired by things like X-Men and I think Cowboy Bebop. So this is more a dark academia in setting. In this we follow Eli and Victor, who are college roommates, and they're working on this project together to find out if near-death experiences can create these extraordinaries or EOs. These are people that have special abilities like the X-Men, and they've kind of been frowned upon. They're not, people don't like them. They're seen as like the scum of the earth in a way. So they're doing this project to see if, near-death experiences can turn people into EOs. And obviously they both try it on themselves and other people, and we find out whether they fail or not. And it is just very fucked up what happens. Like the book starts with Victor just getting out of prison pretty much because of something that happened and they did, and him and Eli used to be so close. Now they are the complete opposites. They both got these powers from these experiences that they did, and it's completely changed them and their dynamic. Eli is now trying to hunt down Victor because of what he thinks is right in his mind, and Victor is trying to like fight back and get back at him. It is really good. I love those friendships that were so obsessive and close, and they were fighting for power over each other and to best each other and to prove their worth to each other, that then completely goes in the different direction, but they still have that urge to impress each other and beat each other and best each other. It is just such a fun dynamic, and all of the characters in this book are so morally grey. It is just perfection. The next book is The Will of the Many by James Islington. This is an insane book as well. This is a Roman-inspired fantasy. In this we follow Viz, who is the remaining heir to this family that has been killed and murdered by the Empire in this world. He is then living and working in this kind of like prison area because it's the only job he can get. And one day this wealthy guy comes and offers him a proposition. He will send him to school in this prestigious college as long as Viz finds truth and the answers of what happened to his brother. So Viz kind of doesn't really have a choice, so he accepts. He goes there and infiltrates it, and Viz is thrown into the school. He's trying to like get to a certain rank by a certain time so he can find these answers. He's given tasks to try and complete while he's there. He needs to find out the information, whether the principal is actually responsible for this guy's brother's death, what secrets are being hidden off campus, and it's just very interesting and very fucked up at times, but very cool Roman-inspired world. The ending of this is an absolutely insane cliffhanger. So if you haven't read this book, I definitely recommend picking it up sometime soon because at the end of the year, the sequel is going to be released. The next two books are very similar in some ways in setting. The first one is The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. This is a grimdark fantasy. So this is a trilogy. It's kind of inspired by the Sino-Japan War and looks a lot about the atrocities that were committed then. If you know anything about the rape of Nanking, you will know a lot about what will happen in these books. We look at wars against other countries. We look at civil wars as well. There is just so much going on in this. But in this book, in The Poppy War, we follow Rin. She is living in a very impoverished town. She's the daughter to this family that really don't want her. They just want to sell her off and have her get married so they can get money in return. But she's really not worth a lot in their eyes. She's been fighting to go to this prestigious academy to be trained to be a soldier or a strategist and just do something different. This is what she's been striving for. She has a tutor that's been helping her and she passes and gets in. So we follow her going to this academy and training and the impending war that is breaking out and how these young kids are thrust into something that is genuinely so horrifying and brutal and they are so unprepared for. There's also a lot of fantasy elements in this as well. And it is just very brutal, but a very incredible read. If you are going to pick up these books, I highly recommend checking the content warnings for them because there is a lot that happens in it. But Rin is not a good character. You're not meant to like her or agree with her decisions. She makes bad decisions. She is human. But that's the whole point. It's kind of a book where you will be mad at her choices, but you can also kind of see and understand why she did it. It very much just looks at the decisions of humanity and the lengths that people go to because they think they are correct and they think they are doing what's right. It is genuinely quite horrifying, but one of the best trilogies I've ever read. The next book is The Sword of Kaigan by M.L. Wang. This is similar in setting to The Poppy War. We're set in like an Asian-inspired world. There is a prestigious college involved, but it's like a high school. But in this, we've got two different POV characters that we follow. We've got Mamoru, who is the young boy. He is the son and heir to this very prestigious like samurai family. They are a fighting family. And then we follow his mother, Misaki, who is also from a very powerful family, but powerful for different reasons. In this, we look a lot at propaganda and misinformation and the way governments control information and lie. Misaki has kind of always known not to trust her government and that a lot of what happens in Kaigan or what they say happens in Kaigan isn't actually the truth. She went to a school in the Western world and went there with so many different people and learnt about so many different experiences and how much her government and country just lies. But her son and her husband and the rest of the people in the village that she lives in, they just take everything that they are told as gospel. They don't see the lies. They only take it all as truth. And Mamoru kind of starts to realize once this new boy comes and explains some of the truths that everything is a lie. He refuses to believe it for a while. He talks back to his father about it, which ends badly for him. And it looks at whether there's any truth to this and whether he should still fight for his country. And in this, we get an impending war as well. We've got that war actually starting to break out when the opposing forces start attacking. And the way that these two people kind of like fight back against it and try and figure out what's right. This is a very infuriating book. There is a lot of misogyny in this, especially between Misaki and her husband. There's a lot of propaganda, like I said, as well. There's a lot of brutalism and raw war. And again, this is something you need to check the content warnings of. It is a very devastating book. I again sobbed so much reading this, but it is incredible. There was one critique I did have of it, and that was that the ending kind of felt a bit weird. We were setting up for some things that were never fully fulfilled or explained because it was meant to be book one in a series, but now it's a standalone. But I still think despite that, it is entirely worth reading because it is absolutely breathtaking. Okay, I've got two kind of like YA overlap books. The first one is Legendborn by Tracy Deonn. If you haven't read this series, I need you to take a step back, examine yourself, and ask why, because it is absolutely fucking incredible. This is a Arthurian reimagining and retelling. If you love things like BBC's Merlin, I think you'll really enjoy this. But in this, we follow Bree. She's kind of just lost her mother and is processing the death of her mother and that grief. She's just 16. She's enrolling in this like early college program for gifted and talented kids and stuff. And on one of her first nights on campus, she witnesses something that she probably shouldn't. She sees a guy that is chasing down this magical hound thing and kills it, and she gets completely wrapped up into this world of the Round Table. And in this, the Round Table members are descendants of the original Round Table. So you've got descendants of King Arthur and Merlin and all the other members. And she's kind of thrust into this world and trying to navigate her place in it and why she can see and deal with all of this stuff and what's actually going on. It is very interesting, and I don't really want to say too much more than that, but it looks a lot at grief and magic and family secrets. It looks a lot as well at slavery in the US and the implications that had on the Round Table and these generations now. It is really interesting. It is also a love triangle, which I typically do hate, but I think this one is done really well because it is like a proper love triangle. But that is all I will say about Legendborn, because I just need you to read it and pick it up. They are devastating. Oathbound is out and I've been procrastinating reading it because I am terrified of what's going to happen, but these are honestly so worth it. The final book is A Study in Drowning by Ava Reid. This is one of my all-time favorite books as well, like all of these are, but this is just beautiful. This is a book that I actually had to stop myself from taking places with me because I wouldn't actually get done what I needed to do. Like I banned myself from taking it to work because I was dreaming about this book, and I knew if I had it on my desk at work, I would not do my job and I would actually just sit there reading it all day. But this is beautiful. It's again got those very fairy tale elements. It's very Ava Reid. In this, we follow Effie. She goes to this prestigious college. She's obsessed with this author. She's an architecture student. It's got a lot to do with the misogyny she faces as well, and the way that women are kind of frowned upon in this setting. But that's like a focus, but not the whole thing at the same time, but it definitely plays a large role. But one day Effie finds out about this competition that architecture students can enter, where if they win, they get to redesign and renovate the house of this author that she loves. And once she gets there and wins the competition and goes to compete, she realizes another student is there, a literature student who is actually trying to discredit this author and prove that he didn't write his work. But we look at them butting heads, them trying to end up working together, the things that happen there, the really weird, fantastical things, like there's an iron horseshoe over the door of where she sleeps to protect her from the Fae. And it is very interesting and harrowing. And like this house that they have to redesign and renovate is slowly falling apart and sinking into the sea from this cliff face. And it is so interesting. We look as well a lot about whether Effie can actually be trusted. She's kind of been told her whole life that the things she is seeing aren't actually there. They think she might be schizophrenic or just be having some weird visions. So she's been put on medication since she was a child. She's trying to figure out whether everything she's seen her whole life is the truth or whether people have convinced her that she's crazy. It is really interesting and beautiful. There is, of course, going to be a romance between Effie and Preston, the main characters, but it is honestly really well done. I do really enjoy it. It's got so many tropes that I absolutely love, and it is just such a beautiful book, and Ava Reid is just such a genius. The gothic vibes in this are just perfection. But that is all of the books that I wanted to talk about. There was a lot to get through. I hope you found some new recommendations you would like to pick up. Let me know if you have read any of these, or if you could pick one book to recommend, what would it be? But I will see you all with another video next time. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And that is it. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.